Hi everybody, Michael Snyder, Pacific Northwest Weather Chasers. Today is December 16th. Looking at the wide Pacific view, and you can see our next system kind of winding up off the coastline here, along with that very deep low over the Bering Sea there northwest of the Aleutian Islands. And if we take a glance down, you can see the nice mild temperatures for Hawaii. It looks like a good place to vacation this time of year. So let's go ahead and zoom in a little bit here and take a look what's going on around Pacific Northwest. You can see some chilly temperatures all the way up through Vancouver, low to upper 30s. Showers are kind of tapering off now, except for the eastern portions of the state, and a little bit warmer down through the Willamette Valley. So we have a system coming in on Friday night into Saturday morning, and then another one on Monday that's going to move up the coast, and it's trying to tap some of this colder Arctic air. You notice some of these readings up here are below zero, and there's an Arctic front set up on the higher terrain here, and that system Monday is going to try to tap a little bit of that. We're going to get some offshore winds. The question is, are we going to get enough precipitation to move up and over that chillier air? And temperatures are still going to remain marginal at that. So let's take a look at that. Let's just dive right in. This is the NAM run that just came in tonight, and you can see the system moving in here. Rain in the valleys for the most part, maybe some snow for Bellingham North or north of Bellingham into British Columbia, so that should be watched. And you can see the system slide in. For the most part, anything south of British Columbia is going to be rain in the valleys and snow in the mountains. So no flooding concerns with this system, even though this band kind of hangs up over Oregon. It's still mostly mountain snow. Snow levels don't look too low down there, though. There's some warmer air getting in there. But you can see the NAM kind of showing a deformation band across the central Puget Sound. So we're going to be watching for some wet snow mixing in the Puget Sound. Looks like temperatures are going to be kind of marginal and probably above freezing. So I don't expect any accumulations on the cement at this time. And that's as far out as the NAM goes. Let's go ahead and just jump right into the GFS. And I'm going to compare 0Z versus the 18Z because they're showing a little bit of differences. The 18Z was kind of a snowy solution for the Puget Sound. Even though temperatures are marginal, it was still showing some good accumulations. The 0Z has backed off a little bit on that. But anyway, as you can see, that system moved into British Columbia there, then that low form off the coast. And you can see on the right there, the earlier run, the low was a bit closer, and the deformation band gets closer to the Puget Sound. A little bit better dynamics, and that was what was showing up as a snowfall. And you can see that low kind of jog away from the coast. But notice that there is some Arctic air up over British Columbia here, and there's a pretty tight gradient from the interior of BC into western Washington and western Oregon. And so there's going to be some pretty good offshore winds going on here. Let's take a look at the European model and see how it handles this, because it looks like on Saturday morning, potentially areas, Skagit, Whatcom County North, could get some snowfalls. We're going to have to watch that. And you can see even some snow mixing in Central Sound areas there. So something to watch on Saturday morning, especially if you live up north, Bellingham North into British Columbia. Anyway, as we go into the future here, and then by Saturday evening, it looks like it's mostly rain through the lowlands. More mountain snow coming, building that snowpack. You can see that front sag south, bringing snow to the Oregon Cascades. And as we go a little bit more into the future, this is Monday morning. That new low is developed off the coast of Oregon at this point. And you can see there's a little bit of snow mixing in for Central Sound on the European model here too. So we'll watch for that, and just, it looks like it's going to be a marginal event. The temperatures do not look like they're going to get that cold. But again, it is mid-December, so we need to watch it. And we are pulling some chilly air through the passes, and it is dry, so we might get some evaporative cooling under a heavier band, so that needs to be watched. And if we take a look at the European ensemble for 18Z, you can see it really didn't show much of a snowy solution for the Puget Sound. The GFS was noticeably snowier. And if it's going to pop up here, there you go. There was some. This is actually the 0Z that just came in now. This is brand new. I'm looking at this for the first time. So you can see most runs don't have much, but there are a couple of runs that have some significant snowfall. And then, of course, here's the latter period right here, which I have not looked at yet. We're going to look at that together here coming up in a minute. This is the GFS extended. Let's go ahead and just look at pressure and infer weather from there. So again, there's some Arctic air over British Columbia there. A lot of it slides east of the Rockies as this system moves into Vancouver Island and British Columbia up north there. You see that low slide north, almost like a clipper system into the Dakotas. And some more Arctic air, or some Arctic air slides down. You can see there's a gradient there from interior BC into western Washington as this low is developing offshore here. So there's going to be some strong offshore winds, some gap winds, and some Fraser River Valley winds, and some winds coming off the continent. So maybe a deformation band gets north off that low. We'll have to watch that closely. Could be a little surprise, snowy scenario for some people. But again, it looks very marginal at this point. And as we go into the future with the GFS here, you can see that low kind of meander off the coast as we're waiting for this to load. And then you'll notice that low up by southeast Alaska. That is in response to that ridge of high pressure moving down. That's Arctic air on the move again up there. And the issue here is that if this takes too much of a trajectory off water, it develops some deep cyclogenesis, and it keeps that low spinning out here, and it tends to bring warmer air in underneath it. So what we want is that low, if you're a snow lover that is, you want that low to kind of stay hugging the coast and that trajectory to just come out of the water a little bit. But in this case, let's see what it does. I have not looked at this yet. So a little bit of Arctic air, not much up there. I mean, you can see this low still meandering off the coast. This is Christmas Eve. And again, here comes some more Arctic air across Alaska and the Yukon. And you can see that low right off the coast of Washington there. Gradient starting to set up through British Columbia. That low is almost a little bit too far north there, even though that's a beefy Arctic high there and there's a tight gradient. For western Washington, that might be just a little bit too far out north of a low, but you can see it's right on the border there. If that thing sets up over Astoria, it's much more favorable for western Washington. Right now, that would be a British Columbia lowland potential snow event. So right on the borderline there. And as we go more into the future, day after Christmas, by this point, and now you're in business, you're pulling some cold continental Arctic air out over, and this low is probably spreading moisture back over the top. So there is snow potential still just beyond Christmas. And here we're in a full-on, this is Arctic air penetrating into the region if this were to verify. So it's still interesting on the GFS there, and you can see another even reinforcing shot of Arctic air comes down into British Columbia there. And by that time, we've dried out quite a bit. So we'd be pretty cold in this scenario right here. We'd be getting pretty chilly in Pacific Northwest there. And this is La La Land out here, but it even shows a third shot of Arctic air kind of sliding down into the area. And a nice setup, but that's barely even worth looking at. So let's go back to the beginning here and let's look at oops, I didn't mean to click off that, but let's redo that again. The European model, let's see how far the European model has gotten out here, and we'll look at pressure and infer weather from there. Letting it load for a second here. And as you can see, fairly good model agreement here. The system on Saturday morning slides into British Columbia, brings some rain. I know the GFS was showing a snowy solution. I think the Euro actually had it too for Bellingham North, so that's got to be watched. We've got a day or so to make sure that one doesn't surprise us too much. And you can see that low kind of slide across through the Dakotas. And then that low develops off the coast here. And this is the first one looking at the 0Z European here. You can see that it does have some Arctic air in British Columbia, but you can see the high is not as strong. The gradients are not as strong. There's going to be some offshore flow here, but not as strong as in the GFS. So some differences showing up there. And we're at 126 hours, so you can see some real deep troughing kind of set up here over British Columbia as this next wave of Arctic air. That high is not very deep though, this first initial wave anyway, but then you can see this low really develops off the southern periphery of this batch of Arctic air that's really does not make too much push down into British Columbia. So you can see under this scenario here, we're still getting pretty strong onshore flow. Huge snow mountain maker in this kind of scenario. I mean, just massive amounts. So yeah, we're at the 216 hours here, but the European is still in flux greatly. I mean, it's not near as progressive with this Arctic air as the GFS is. So we are still in limbo, and this is on Christmas night. Once this low passes through, it is a pretty chilly low. There might be some convergence zone action, some local snow in some areas. That's something we'll watch for. We've got tons of time to work out those details, but yeah, major disagreement though coming in later on. GFS is gung-ho with punching Arctic air down in British Columbia, and the European is much more conservative with that Arctic air moving down towards our region. So yeah, I'm going to do some weather history and break down some events. I was thinking about doing November 1955, a really unique Arctic outbreak in November, and I've got a poll going right now. It looks like 1989 is going to win, so I'm going to break that down, just do a couple videos just for fun, and just kind of explain the synopsis of what happened during those systems, and kind of helps you learn and kind of keeps me refreshed on what to look for in future events and when we compare. But yeah, so did we gain any more ground there? Let's see. I'll just refresh that real quick and see if we gain any more. Oh, there we go. We were at the 216 last time, so we got out a little bit more. But yeah, that is not the sign. That's not the sign you want to see if you want a good significant snow event for Western Washington on the Euro. So hope the GFS is right if you like snow. But anyway, I will keep updating on Twitter. I'll do another briefing tomorrow. We'll take another look at this and see how this process evolves further. And we'll pay attention to this event on the potential snow event for southern British Columbia on Saturday, and then maybe a little bit of snow moving up from the south on Monday for Western Washington. So we'll take a look at that, and I will talk to you guys later. Thanks.